I know you and I have talked about this. One of the things that I thought was interesting stylistically in my first exposure to venture back in 99, 2000 is they were generalists. People would walk in off the street, two people and an idea. And it seemed like the office was always full of people doing kind of random things, frankly, from restaurants all the way through,
It's even today on Twitter, Paul Graham's like, you shouldn't actually say you're focused on anything because you should back the best entrepreneurs.
That's right.
Like a tweet yesterday. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. I kind of, and maybe this was my legal training, maybe it's just my DNA, but I kind of consider myself more of a researcher and anthropologist.
You want to go deep on things.
Right, exactly. And so what I had, when I was studying the internet in 1998, 99 and saying, where will durable value accrue? It seemed to me there were a couple areas. And one was organizing all the world's knowledge and information. Another one was organizing all the world's products. So helping us find and buy things, helping us discover knowledge. And you could build effectively a tax collection machine that sat in front of those. So for a decade, I started and invested in search businesses, horizontal like Google, and vertical search engines like Leading the Series B and Zillow, or Faircast, or Sidestep, or Kayak, or Booking.com.
Makes sense.
Etc. By 2008, 2009, we had this thing called the iPhone, and we said, wow, something's really changing here. That's no longer going to be search first. That'll be, something else. And we saw these icons evolving on page one. And so how do you become an application? How do you truly leverage? So companies like Uber and Airbnb, companies that were taking advantage of the social graph like Facebook, that became applications and were no longer paying the toll keeper, the search engine, in order to gain access. And then I think we were early to the cloud. People forget, but in 2011, 2012, the cloud was not viewed favorably. And the reason for that is it was more costly, it was less performant, and it was viewed as less secure than running compute in your own data center. We had a different opinion there. And so our fund, we run, as you know, a long-short hedge fund and a long-only hedge fund, and those are permanent capital. And now we're on our 7th venture fund. But back then, when I launched our first venture fund, it was almost all dedicated to the cloud. So early investments in Snowflake and Mongo, Twilio and HubSpot really powered the returns.
We were in the same wave. It took a long time to get the big institutions to actually trust the cloud, but it was clear they were going to, and that's where it is now. So, Brad, a lot of people argue today is harder than it was 10 or 15 years ago. I'm curious what you think. They say that, AI, it's a lot harder, especially for venture, to take advantage of that, given that the existing companies could do it as well. And so there's a lot of debates about what the returns next 10 years are going to be versus the last 10 years. Like, what are the big trends today, and how are you seeing it?
It's not surprising that those arguments are reemerging right after 2022.
Yes.
Okay. Those same arguments existed in 2001 after that correction, and existed in 2009 after that correction. And ironically, as investors and thinkers, we tend to be overly influenced by the most recent events. So I actually think this is the best of time, the intersection when prices have corrected, but you're early in a super cycle. I think AI, or I like to talk about augmented intelligence, will be more important to humanity than the first 3 super cycles I've lived through, which are internet, mobile, and cloud. I think it'll be bigger. And so I don't buy that thesis. Of course, as Bill Gurley, our friend here in town, likes to say, venture capital is cyclical, right? We have not suspended the laws of gravity. Interest rates matter, right? And so that overlay matters, but none of that changes the never-ending waves of innovation that we drive in this country. And when you can get early in one of these super cycles, those tailwinds provide extraordinary opportunities for return.
So